Hello and welcome back to the Outdoors Station, and this my review of the 2015 TGO Challenge, which took place in May 2015. Now it's October as I record this, and of course people who know about the TGO Challenge know that they need to get their entries in by the end of October to be acceptable on the list. And of course then you go through the vetting process and all the rest of it, which is all explained in the TGO magazine, of course. Now the TGO Challenge is sponsored by Handvag and Fjallraven, and it's been going for some 30 odd years. Nice British companies there. And we at the Outdoor Station have been making videos and podcasts since 2006. Some 54 audio podcasts in all, which are available over on the Outdoor Station for you to check out whenever you like, and to get some inspiration about actually doing the challenge yourself, or obviously some ideas of routes and experiences that people have had over the years. Now on this particular video we are going to do the same formula as we did before. We're going to look at some of the locations that we went through. We're going to look at some mapping software, we'll look at the route that we took, some of the experiences, and of course play video clips that we recorded each day as the event unfolded. But first, I have to say, compared to the previous one in 2013 I did, and then the one before that in 2011, this was a really good crossing. Mainly down to the weather. The weather was quite good for the first few days, bit really horrible the next couple of days, quite good a few days after that, and then bit so-so after that, which actually all balanced out and made for quite a nice event. So what we're going to do is pop over to the mapping software. Now the mapping software this year has been supplied by RouteBuddy. RouteBuddy approached us and asked us to be interested in using the mapping software this year, which we chose to do. So we use this partly for plotting our original route, but also we popped it on our iPhones and used it whenever we were slightly misplaced or wanted triple confirmation of where we were, which we did a good half a dozen so times. What was interesting to note, that actually an iPhone booted up and gave us a location and gave us a good idea of where we were going faster than the standard Garmin, the few times we did it with people that had Garmins. So that made it, for me, very, very impressive, and it also meant that of course we didn't use much battery power up as well, and the one charge lasted the whole way across. But that was purely using it for confirmation, not for, you know, mapping every 5 or 10 minutes. So let's have a look at what we did. This is our first day. This is Glen Elg. Now Shield Bridge is over here, if you can see the mouse, there it is. Shield Bridge there, so in actual fact to get to Glen Elg, like most things, is a bit awkward. It was planes, trains and automobiles for us. We flew to Glasgow, train from Glasgow to Fort William, bus from Fort William to Shield Bridge, and then the lady at the B&B picked us up and took us to the wonderful, wonderful village of Glen Elg, which in actual fact, whoops, I'm moving my map there, stop that, put that back, which in actual fact was the perfect location. In fact, let me show you a picture. This is the view from our bed and breakfast, and that is the Isle of Skye, and as you can see what the weather conditions were like, it was magnificent. Warm, sunny, very balmy, hardly a breeze, a chill to the air, but typical beautiful spring weather. But fancy waking up to that view every single day. It's incredible, isn't it? Anyway, back to the maps. Yeah, we started at Glen Elg. Now, it was a beautiful walk, and the video will explain that as we run into it. The first day, I think we did something like 23k, and it took us a couple of days to get our hill legs, to be fair. We were quite shattered at the end of it. But one of the most interesting things, and something I didn't know about until we were literally walking down the road, is this here, Duntelv. Now that is a broch, B-R-O-C-H. Now, what is a broch? Oh, I'm glad you asked me. Here's what a broch looks like. It's a iconic archaeological Iron Age building. Twin wall construction, can be up to 20 meters in diameter and 13 meters high, and basically it was a multi-layered house, barn, defence, whatever, built back in the Iron Age, 2,000 years old. Really, really fascinating. And you'll see some pictures of us walking around it, and that give you some idea of the scale. Unfortunately, this one was actually cleared out in 1914, which was a great shame, because the people that cleared it out, which was HM Office of Works, just cleared out all the debris and the history that was actually in the base. So it obviously all collapsed in on itself, and a lot of history and archaeological knowledge was lost in the process. But there's a website dedicated to these brocks, mainly in the north and the west of Scotland. So if you're interested in that type of thing, I'd certainly recommend having a look at that. Really is, well, really fascinating, 2,000 years old. Anyway, back to the map. Well, to give you an idea, let's just have a look at the profile of this particular route that we did. There's the elevation there. Whoa, and it gives you an idea, which is quite nice about this map. When you run the mouse along there, you can see where the peaks are, and that's where we went over the Col at some, I don't know, 470 odd metres. And then this last bit here, this bit from there up to where we camped, well, that was hard going, but we were tired at that stage. So, I would say, as you'll see in the video, this was a lovely, lovely start. No matter what the weather would have been, actually it would have still been a fantastic start, where we head down to Kinloch-Horn. Now, Kinloch-Horn, there is a car park down here, and there's we've had a cup of coffee there before. There's a farm, and they've sort of made a little bit of a cafe down there, and also a campsite down there if you're interested. But from this point here, round to the campsite, we were tired, but if we dropped down there, we'd have to have climbed back up again, and that really is, we were on our last legs, to be fair. So we struggled round, went round the corner here, and we're looking for this campsite that was recommended by Mr. Grumpy, who was a well-known character on the TGO challenge, and he said this is a really good spot. Now, a nice little trick here is to click on the world map, and there you see the aerial map. And there's this little promontory just here, and I have to say it was beautiful. Had a lovely night's camp, dead flat, very calm, lovely and dry. Saw the sunset, saw the sunrise before we headed off the following day. So let's go back, not to that picture, let's go back to me, which is here. What I'm going to do now is run the video. And you'll see the experiences that we had during the day and give you a taster, and certainly a taster of Glenelg, and, well, just how perfect and how quiet it can be. Here we go. Good morning. Well, this is us starting the 2015 TGO challenge in the beautiful, beautiful little village of Glenelg, and behind us over there, that is the Isle of Skye. Isn't that magnificent? Just across the water. Now, we've had a few starts in the years that we've done it, and we can only keep our fingers crossed that the weather stays like this for at least some of the time. That would be nice.
Certainly would. Glorious.
But a beautiful, beautiful place. If you ever need to escape from anywhere, Glenelg is a place to escape to. The metropolis that there is here apparently consists of about 200 people. It has a pub, a church, a small little shop, and a few houses. And the most stunning scenery you could ever wish to see. The bed and breakfast we stayed at last night, the window just looked straight across the water there, to Skye. Wonderful.
I was going to say there's a few holiday self-catering cottages too. and a couple of bed and breakfasts. That's it.
That's it.
A few cows, a few sheep.
Magnificent, magnificent. Anyway, so let's see how we get on 2015. We're late starting, but that's typically us really on the first day. And to be honest, on a day like this, who wants to rush it? Oh, it's rush hour. That's rush hour over. Back to it. Well, there you have it. What a wonderful first day. And so you can see that the weather was perfect and also quite interesting area to walk through as well. Now, for those people that are interested in audio podcasts, there is a wealth of them. There's 54 of them, in fact, dedicated to the TGO challenge since 2006. But this particular series is 389. Here we go. Yeah, 389 to 390 something. There's a series 9 of them there, and that covers this complete trip. So day 1 is covered in number 389. So if you have a look at the outdoor station, you will see them there. What's happened to come back to me? So yes, you'll see them there. So you look at for the first one, which is number 389. Right, let's just have a quick butcher's at the conclusion of the day. So that's day 1. Total distance almost 24 kilometers. Total climbing almost 1,000 meters, descending almost 800, and it was an easy day's walk. We took our time and enjoyed it, particularly with the weather, and it eventually ended up being around 9 hours. And as you can see, the weather condition was sensational. So on to day 2. Now day 2 was just under 22 kilometers. We were tired, as I say, we hadn't got our hill legs back at that stage, but it was an exhilarating morning, particularly after the freezing cold dip in the Scottish mountain stream, which was very welcome but shocking, to say the least. Anyway, let's, without further ado, pop over and have a look at the map. So here we are at Kinloch Horn, at the camp we eventually started off from, and we headed up the corrie, which was a long steady climb, which you'll see quite clearly in the video. Over the top of the corrie, then down along towards Glenloyne, going down to Alt Bethy here, or Alt Beath, not too sure how you pronounce it. Now you'll see in the video there is a lot of construction work going on this this valley and this area. Now I think it is all to do with sort of mini hydroelectric schemes which were being put in place, and we saw a few of these this year as we walked across Scotland. So I'm not too sure what grants and things are going on. Let's have a quick look at the aerial view. There you are. There's not an awful lot to see there, is there? But there is a little building there. There's a house. In fact, you'll see that in our 2011 video where we stayed there. In fact, we met Ronald Turnbull at that particular spot, who was off to climb this peak here, I think, looking back several years. So, going back to the map, we continued along Glenloyne. A nice easy walk, either side very high mountains, which was lovely. We could have gone over the top, of course, but as I say, the first couple of days we were both not really up to it. We didn't quite have the fitness to be confident we were okay on the top, and also there was a lot of snow on the top as well, so that really did affect our decision. Now it's from this point onwards things were not particularly enjoyable. Now is the River Loyne here. Let's just zoom out so you can see, put into perspective, and you can see where we crossed the river at the ford there, which was easy to cross, no problem from that point of view. However, from this particular point over the top of this peak, heading towards the Tom Doon road here, this is the road that goes down to Tom Doon, the old Tom Doon Hotel. From here to, well, just that section there, this section here, just boggy. Just really boggy, and it was a lovely day and there was no additional rain, should we say, to make it worse, but it's just land that doesn't drain, unfortunately. And that's the second or third time I've done this route, and I'm not going to do it again. I would probably choose in future to head round the north side of Glenloyne and Loch Loyne there and see where that route took me. It looks like a much more interesting route than this particular one, but it was just unpleasant and unnecessary. Now I'll tell you a bit more about Tom Doon and Tom Doon area when we get on to day 3, because there's something there worth discussing which may give you an idea about your decision-making process if you're looking to go that way in the future. But I think there's not much else to tell on this particular day, so let's now just flip over to the video and you can make your own mind up on what it was like. But the weather was still good on day 2, and yeah, we enjoyed it. In fact, I'm about to click on the wrong one. That's better. Here we go. Well, as you can see, not a bad day. And that little flashback that I put in there as well, actually that wasn't from 2013, that was from 2011, but it doesn't really matter. It's just to give you an indication that when the vetters say to you, you have to be prepared for streams being in spate and streams not being in spate, you can get a bit of an idea of just how different they can be, and how a simple stream on a beautiful sunny day with not much water in it can't possibly appear to be dangerous, and yet when there's a lot of water going down it, you really have to look where you're going. So that just gives you an idea of just how different they can be. There's another one coming actually later on in the in this particular series, and you'll see where 2013 something very similar that I've posted about the different weather conditions and how it can affect you. But let's just go back to the map now. The Tom Doone area, people struggle for camping spots, and as we came down off the second col here, down towards the road, there is an area around the roadside down here. Let's just have a quick look at the aerial view. There's the road there. There's a little bit of an area down there, but really it's just not very attractive or conducive to camping spots. And there was a couple of other people, the names that we didn't quite catch. Somebody walked past us and somebody camped by us just back up here somewhere. And they were the last couple of spots that were half decent, as I say. And the weather was just starting to change. The good weather was changing into something less attractive. Now, a few people that we met later on did actually camp much further down towards Tom Doone. There's a couple of properties down here which are that are inhabited, and there's a couple of small ones uninhabited, and they actually camped in the uninhabited back garden, which was pretty well the only place to camp. Now, when we come on to day 3, I'll show you some Google images there, and you'll see why it doesn't present much option for the camping. So let's just look at the total day. There we have it. We don't have actually podcast 390. Yes, this day 2 and day 3 are available on podcast 390. That's just there to remind me. So there you are. You can see the profile, the two peaks, the first col and the last col before coming down into Tom Doone area. Total distance of 21k. Reasonable ascents, just 750 metres. A bit more descent, 800 metres. And it took us 10 hours. But again, beautiful weather, not in a rush, really had a good time, and generally it was another excellent day's walking. So, on to day 3. Now this is where the weather changed from the first two, obviously. Really pleasant days, but heavy rain, low cloud, high winds, sort of storm conditions were sort of forecast, so we had to take that into account. Now, as I was saying earlier on, the location where we camped here, just before the Tom Doone Road, when you actually flip over and look at Google Earth, you can't really tell. There isn't an awful lot to choose from. There is a little bit of camping, I would think, around the bridge here, but you'd have to choose your spot very well. The reason is, although this looks great from Google Earth, and it looks fine from the map too, actually when you put your little man down there and have a look at the area, you start to see what it's like. There's a long slope there, but it's all very, very tussocky. Lots of tussocks, lots of streams, very boggy, very hard to walk through, and let alone try and find a camping spot. So you can see why people actually get down here thinking it's good, and then they keep going and keep going and keep going, and then eventually end up, as I say, pitching up on the back of that property, which was around here somewhere in the middle. To give you a bit more of an idea, the other thing that I find a little bit off-putting about the area, which is not particularly welcoming, but I'm sure there's a very good reason for it, is the fencing, the deer fencing. If I just put that there, it gives you an idea. That's how close the deer fencing is. So at times you feel like you're just walking down a corridor of deer fence. And again, these are the sort of road conditions and the verge conditions you're looking at. Nothing at all conducive to pitching up and finding a spot. So disappointing really, and not one I'm going to recommend. Of course, the Tom Doon Hotel, as was, well, of course that's now changed and now looks like that. It's being, apparently, another challenger was telling me, it is being changed to a domestic house for domestic use. So whether it's going to be rented out or lived in, I don't know, but of course they've knocked down the old bunkhouse that was at the back and all the rest of it. So the Tom Doon Hotel no longer exists, which of course means that if you are travelling down this road and you're looking for some sustenance or some support or whatever, I think you're going to be hard pressed even finding a bed and breakfast. Anyway, as I say, we headed into the Glengarry Forest. Now this forest track here that comes through here will take you walking straight through to Invergarry. Now there's a lovely spot in Invergarry just up here, and of course that has a pub hotel as well, which is down on the corner somewhere just there, which Lee, Tony and I have visited on several occasions. We camped there 2 years ago, and then if you wanted to, you could carry on through the forest walking up to the Caledonian Canal, and then of course up to Fort Augustus. However, our intention was to come across here down to the Lagan Locks, where there is a floating pub and the Great Glen Hostel, which is down here. So as you'll see from the weather conditions, things worsened, and basically as we came into the forest here, we had to make some serious decisions. So the first shortcut route would have been up this particular track here, which would have taken us to the col between these two little peaks, and then we would have spun round to the east there using this stream as a handrail before dropping down towards this forest area, because that's a little bit of a steep gully to try and get down, to drop down. However, the weather conditions and also looking at the map and how many pockets of water were there, we assumed that that would be pretty boggy and pretty hard going. So we chose to take plan B, which was the second shortcut, another forestry track that took us through the forest, which actually was quite overgrown at times, to this ford, and then follow the edge of the forest there as a handrail, take a bearing from the forest to the top of this climb here, and head it's approximately a mile, because that's a square kilometre there, so approximately a mile across the top, which we thought would be okay. However, I'm tall, Rose is is 5'4", and it was well over knee deep for me to get across. And again, tussocks, boggy, water, you name it, it was tough going for me. And for Rose, she really did battle. It was up to her waist at times. And it's probably the first time we've actually used a bothy bag to actually protect ourselves and rest for 5 or 10 minutes to gather our breath. So we stopped and obviously had a bite to eat, had a bar before carrying on. The wind was incredibly strong, but we finally made it to the top of the climb, which was a steady descent, thank goodness for walking poles. So we took a straight diagonal descent down there very, very carefully. Thankfully they burned a lot of the undergrowth to encourage new growth for the birds, so it wasn't too bad getting down there, and then we got down to Lagan Locks, down to the floating pub, which we didn't call in on, and we went down to the Great Glen Hostel, which is here. Just got it on the map there. We made the mistake, probably because we were tired and I just didn't think, of walking along the road, which was a pretty dangerous thing to do, because once again they don't take prisoners in Scotland when they're driving along the road, and in those weather conditions visibility was pretty poor and people didn't really see us, even though I was wearing my bright red jacket with all the reflective stuff on it. What we should have done is done the nice easy walk down the side of the Caledonian Canal and then cut back to the hostel. But hey, you make these mistakes, and that's what happens when you're tired. So let's now run the video and we will see exactly how the day unfolded and give you an idea of some of the conditions that we walked through. In fact, that is the wrong video. I'm going to run the right video now and we'll try again. And a very welcome pint it was too, when we eventually went down to the pub in the evenings. I didn't take any video on the top. I wish I had, because, well, the reason I didn't is because you couldn't see anything. And that shot of Rose just walking down the last decline there was the first time we actually saw anything on that particular trip over the top. But that's the challenge for you. You've got to be prepared for the worst and hope for the best. Let's have a look now at our graphic of the actual day. That's the route that we took. A fairly long day, but not bad going, because most of it was obviously forest track and road, so 25k in all. Not much of an ascent either, 370 metres, but there you go. It was expecting it to take sort of 7 hours or less, because we'd planned to meet Lee and Tony sort of lunchtime-ish, but it ended up being much longer than that, and we were shattered by the time we got there. So yes, we did enjoy a good meal in the evening. Day 4, and the weather conditions continued very much like this picture just here, and things were extremely overcast, low cloud, lots of rain, lots of wind, and pretty unpleasant, and it's quite cold too. So much so that Lee and Tony, who we'd met at the Great Glen Hostel, and ourselves, we were planning to go over the top to Glen, I can't remember the name of it now, Glendoe was it? But instead we decided to take our foul weather alternative, which was pretty boring really. Actually, it was a walk down to the Caledonian Canal. We had intended to leave the hostel, where are we? Leave the hostel and head over to Glenroy, not Glendoe, but beg your pardon, Glenroy, and then take this way, this route here towards Aviemore. However, the foul weather alternative was to go down the old railway line, which was here, just dead flat walking, and we got down to the swing bridge at Lagan. Now, the one thing I would like to say, if anybody else is in the same area, just up here, about, well, what, good half a kilometre up the road, there is the Thistle Cafe, just there. And they're lovely. They're lovely. They had 4 drowned rats appear. Oh no, a bit too close. No, it's not even mapped. Here we go. 4 drowned rats appear. And they took us in and said, oh, dump your wet stuff over there, put that stuff down there. We shook ourselves off, sat down, and had a fantastic full breakfast, as much as we could eat, loads of tea and coffee, and it really did cheer us all up, because we were all a bit fed up at that stage at the way things had developed for us. So once our stomachs were full and we had a little bit more enthusiasm for the world, we then came back down and had to do the dreadful walk, I hate it, along the Caledonian Canal to Fort Augustus. The reason I hate it is I've done it 3-4 times now. Every single time the wind whistles down there and your neck gets so cold. And it's always, strangely enough, every time I walk down there, I'm always knackered. It doesn't matter which route I've got to get to Lagan, walking down the Caledonian Canal, I've never been in good condition. So it was pretty head down boring, and consequently no pictures were taken, no video was taken. It was just grumble, 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 moan, 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 until we got down to Fort Augustus, and of course the wonderful fish and chip shop that's there, and the pubs, and the campsite. Now the campsite is now round the back of the hostel. There was another campsite marked on the map, which was up here somewhere by the golf club, but that has long since closed. So that's the only place to go. And because we wanted to dry everything out, we got the last room in the hostel, which meant that Tony and Lee had to use the campsite along with a lot of other people. But it was nice staring at them outside the window in the morning in the nice, dry, warm room while they were enjoying the campsite and all its facilities, and packed up in the rain, which is part of the fun of going with people you know so well. So that was day 4. There's the picture from it. As I say, the cloud was foul, the weather was consistent, and it was just miserable. So it was only an 18-kilometre day, but it still took 7 hours, but that did involve a very, very long and leisurely and enjoyable breakfast, thanks to the Thistle Inn. Thoroughly recommended for all challengers ever in that area. Day 5, and this is where we went from Fort Augustus to Glen Markey. Now, the weather conditions were still a bit iffy, and Lee and Tony had decided to take a different route, take their alternative route and play safe. So from Fort Augustus here, they decided to go up the Corrieric Pass, which takes you over the top of here and down towards the Bothy. Where are we? And down to the bridge here at Garver Bridge. Do apologise, my brain went blank for a second. So General Wade's Road that takes you down to Garver Bridge, and that's where a lot of people camp before either heading down the road or heading over the top of the Monolea. However, I had actually always wanted to go up Glen Doe. Now, Glen Doe from Fort Augustus has always been advisable not to go that way, or we'd asked not to put it onto our route maps, because they were building a reservoir and dam. And consequently all the construction work that was going on there stopped people from going that way. So it was a first opportunity to head up that way. Now we set off in the morning. The weather conditions you'll see were pretty ropey, pretty much the continuation of the previous day, and we met up with David Wishart and Graham Weaver as we set off from Fort Augustus. And somewhere up here there's a tiny little bothy where we also bumped into Graham and Marion Dunser. Graham being one of the vetters on the challenge this year, and if you want to hear the podcast interview with him, you can check it out on podcast number 391 on the Outdoor Station, where he discusses some of the things from a vetter's point of view related to the activities that people have when planning routes for the TGO challenge. So anyway, up Glen Doe we went. Weather conditions were pretty ropey, but it was very, very good underfoot. It's a fine gravel walk, so it actually wasn't pretty arduous on the feet, so it was fairly easy going. The pictures that we have at the top, those are the ones that tend to take people by surprise. This is the look looking down Glen Doe from getting near the top. Fairly long and tortuous day. And then at the top, we found a bit of snow. And consequently, everybody, that's Graham and David there, stopped to take pictures of this remaining snow from winter. And obviously the road had only just recently been pushed way through. But even then, even when we got through there, we still couldn't see the reservoir. And there we are, posing and doing what you would do when you find 7 foot of snow blocking your path. So we eventually made it down to the side of the reservoir. We literally just saw the reservoir when we were at that particular spot there. Let's have a look at the aerial picture and see if it's been mapped. No, it's not been mapped. Let's back out a bit. There we go. So there you go. The aerial picture shows you pre-reservoir. So the reservoir obviously is now taking up that space there. So the mapping is up to date, but not the pictures. That's Google for you, I guess. We continued from here. Down to Stone Larrig. Now this gully here I've been down before, and the video that you'll see as we walk down here towards Stone Larrig Lodge, you can see there's an awful lot of rock has been moved by the water that has been tipping down there over the years. So fairly steady going, you've got to watch your footing, but very interesting walk all the way. Got to Stone Larrig, and the wind, although the weather conditions had brightened up, the wind really had picked up, and so we headed up the top of here with a walking partner, Robin Evans. We bumped into him at Stone Larrig. He continued up here like us, and we were looking for a sheltered spot really in this gully, but unfortunately for some reason the wind just whistled down this gully, and the tent that we're in, you can see the sort of pressure it was under when we pitched. Robin had the better pitch, I have to say. He had just walked on an extra couple of 100 metres and found a better pitch, but we pitched up and we had the wind all night long. Now, on that particular night, I'll come back to that in a second. In that particular night, the wind was so strong we literally didn't cook anything at all. I had to reinforce the shelter with the walking poles, which you'll see. I created a triangular situation and propped up the end pole for the shelter, which was the power lizard, two-person power lizard, just to reinforce it. I didn't think the pole would go, but I wasn't going to risk it, so hence the reason I sort of reinforced it that way. But the wind kept up pretty well all the way through the night, and we enjoyed a cold pasty and some chocolate, I think, was the sum total of our enjoyment that night. But anyway, here we go. Here's the video, and you can decide for yourself if you would have enjoyed walking up Glendo or the Corryerrig Pass as an alternative. Yeah, and it was like that for most of the night. So we think we lay down for the first hour with all our wet weather gear on, just to see if the tent was going to stay up. And once we had confidence it was okay, and we put stones on all the different pegs, we eventually went to bed for the night and got up in the morning. Yes, glad it was all over really. It was a pretty heavy night. So let's just have a look at the final graphic of the actual journey. Again, a long day, 28 kilometres, a fair long day, but it wasn't too bad going, obviously, with probably just under half of it on that mountain road going up to the reservoir, and then it was just cross country, which wasn't too bad, to get into Glenmarky. Just a shame we didn't have a better camping spot, really. That would have been nice. But again, 9 hours, and as you saw, the weather was very, very low cloud, rain, sleet, etc., etc. But enjoyable and fun all the same. So day 6, and we left after a very windy night, and it wasn't too bad walking actually, heading towards the River Dulnane. Now we walked in conjunction with Robin Evans, and he took this photograph of me crossing one of the large areas of snow. Of course, under these conditions, as you can see, it looks fairly warm. The snow is melting underneath, and what you've got to be careful of are snow bridges. So that's where you might have snow that's been laying across a gully where there's a stream, and the stream is obviously defrosting and removing the frozen snow from underneath the snow, which creates this cavern. And we saw, and I wish I'd taken a photograph of it, we saw quite a few snow bridges which had collapsed. So that's where the weight of the snow finally does that. And of course, if you happen to be standing on it at that particular point and it goes through there, as much fun as you might think it is, you could be down 10 or 15 feet into anything, rocks or stream or both, and of course above up to your neck or more, with snow and sunlight above you, and actually it's pretty difficult to get out. So when we walked across these snow areas, these snow fields, we took it in turns, very carefully, definitely prodding and beating the snow in some areas where we might have suspected there was a stream underneath, but generally we tended to play careful, play cautious. But as I say, there were a lot of collapsed snow bridges which would have been worth taking a picture of to give you an idea of just how beautiful but dangerous they can be. So let's have a look at the map. Good old mapping once again, being supplied by Route Buddy, and the audio podcast of this particular few days trip will be found on number 392, so we'll look that up on the outdoor station. So here we have going up the River Eskin. We obviously left Glenmarky, sorry. We continued along Glenmarky for a fairly steady walk and a climb. That wasn't too bad going at all. Got to the River Eskin, poddled along there quite nicely. Found there's a property, I think here, Delbeg, that's right. There's a property there which we thought was a bothy, but actually obviously isn't. It's obviously owned by the estate and a private place. But we sat there and had some food, cooked up some couscous and some cup of soups, I think. And we were joined by some guys from Lancashire, the names of which escape me, unfortunately. So if you're watching these guys, I do apologise. But 3 chaps turned up carrying very large packs, but obviously a great amount of humour with them. And I had a good chat with them for half an hour or so before we headed off our separate ways. Joining Robin once again as we headed up here. Going up Elric Burn, and that's where we started to come across all the different snowfields, in particularly this area here, before dropping down the other side here to the River Dulnane, where there's, in this particular spot here, there is a bothy, an old bothy which is open to the public, and there's a private bothy, which Robin and a couple of other guys, again I'm sorry, I do forget the names, stayed and had a very warm and comfortable night. But Rose and I decided to carry on down the River Dulnane. We enjoyed the camp that night actually, and found an absolute perfect spot, literally a piece of grass the perfect size of our shelter, our tent, and we had a very pleasant and warm evening just sitting listening to nature. So we'll show you that in a video in a second. Let's just have a look at the profile of this particular walk. There you go. The highest point being some 756 metres there. That's where obviously where all the snowfields were. And then we climbed out of Glenmarky here, about 650 metres, and the rest of it was going down to the riverside, etc., etc. So let's now look at the video from the day. And you can see exactly how things unfolded. But as I say, it was a pleasant day's walking. We just had to be very careful as we went across the snow areas. Now the eagle-eyed of you will notice that when I've shown you pictures of the tent and us camped up for the evening, that the footbeds and the shoes are being dried, hanging usually off the walking poles. Now, if people could remember that a couple of years ago, I didn't have a particularly good crossing, and I made the mistake the first day of not cleaning out my shoes and footbeds of the Innovates I was wearing, and consequently the grit created problems with my feet. So this year, without fail, both of us, we were both using Innovates, cleaned out our shoes and scrubbed up the footbeds to get rid of the fine grit, and it made for a much more comfortable and enjoyable crossing, and we had absolutely, once again, no feet problems at all, so that's something to keep in mind. So let's have a look at the final graphic here. So it was another reasonable day, 24k. Not amazing ascents, 500 metres odd, descent was about the same. But it did take 10.5 hours because we slowed down going across the top of those snowfields just to be safe. But as you can see the profile there, it was a reasonable day, reasonable distance, and lovely weather indeed. So yeah, another fine day, day 6.